So on one hand, we have AI that's about to take over 300 million jobs. The banks are collapsing. The US is struggling against hyperinflation. But on the other hand, there has never been a bigger opportunity to create wealth and value in the world. From the internet giving us access to billions of people, AI giving us graphic design, coding, and scalability, and blockchain giving us true decentralized ownership and peer-to-peer trading of our own assets. It's never in history been easier to run a $1 million business with no employees. The brightest minds in the world are predicting this opportunity of your lifetime will unfold over the next 10 years. And if you're prepared, you'll be rewarded with incredible wealth, independence, and freedom. But if you miss it, you'll be stuck on the wrong side of history and on the never-ending treadmill of inflation and centralization. Balaji Srinivasan calls this shift the network state, and he says it will eventually be recognized as its own country. And he believes that you can be a revolutionary founding father of this new digital state. This idea really captivated my attention for the last couple of weeks, so I made this video to break down exactly what it is and how we can benefit from this opportunity. Hit that like button down below for me, put on your no more inflation hat, and let's jump in. So if you don't know Balaji, he's literally one of the brightest minds of our time. And although his predictions sound pretty crazy, it's important to establish he's not some silly goose in his mum's basement making random predictions by throwing darts at a board. He was actually the CTO of Coinbase and a general partner at Andreessen Horowitz. He has co-founded several companies which have been acquired for 7 to 8 figures, and Balaji's also a polymath. With Stanford degrees in electrical and chemical engineering, but most importantly, he has the uncanny ability to see the future far clearer than others. Just like when he foresaw the unfolding of the coronavirus well before it was a big deal. And his biggest prediction right now, one that he's betting his brand and his reputation on, is that we are about to crowdfund a new world superpower. A new country, truly by the people, for the people. Now, where does this idea even come from? Well, Balaji said that the discovery of the internet is on par with the discovery of the Americas in the 1700s. And thanks to technology, Balaji sees a natural progression in human civilization based on the following 4 steps of empowerment. Step 1, we got the right to start companies in a capitalistic society. Because I'm not sure if you're aware, but it actually used to be illegal to think or plan anything entrepreneurial. You couldn't start a business and you had to be a cog in the machine, otherwise you'd literally be put to death. But then we started creating our own companies and solving problems in a decentralized form. But communication was still very segregated, and worse yet, it was really inefficient. But fortunately, that was step 2. The technology then evolved to help us create our own communities. And now we gather for hours a day online with others who are interested in the same things that we are. The biggest community currently is Facebook, with over 3.6 billion people currently networked together. And very recently, we've moved on to the next phase of human empowerment, the ability to create our own currencies. And therefore we can transact and create and receive value in a direct peer-to-peer format, aligning our incentives and giving us true ownership of our own assets. And this is where Balaji prophesizes that step 4 is countries. We'll be able to create our own countries. Now, if that seems absolutely absurd to you, just like it did to me when I heard of this idea, that's okay. But what might help you understand this is that historically there's been 3 ways to create your own country or state. The first is election. The most conventional way to start a new country involves winning sufficient power in an election to either A, rewrite the laws of an existing state, or B, carve out a new one from scratch with the recognition of an international community. Or you could do option 2, a revolution. The second obvious way is political revolution. We don't advise attempting this. Particularly momentous elections are sometimes referred to as revolutions, though a revolution frequently involves bloodshed. Revolutions are infrequent, but everyone knows that they mean a new government. And the third and the most violent way is, of course, war. A war is, of course, not independent from the other two. Indeed, both elections and revolutions can lead to wars that end up carving out new polity. Like a revolution, a war is infrequent and undesirable, but is a means to redraw state borders. And with all 3 of these strategies of starting a new state or country, Balaji sees a massive problem. They are a borders first, culture second strategy. And Balaji says by creating a culture first and borders second, that is the key to the future. He says, unlike ideologically disaligned and geographically centralized legacy state, which packs millions of disputants in one place, a network state is ideologically aligned but geographically decentralized. The people are spread around the world in clusters of varying size, but their hearts are all in one place. And to do this, we need to open ourselves up to the newest way to create a country, Balaji's way. It's called the network state. And it's a strategy based on the empowerment of the individuals thanks to technology. And finally, we arrive at our preferred method, the network state. Our idea is to proceed cloud first, land last. Rather than starting with the physical territory, we start with the digital community. We create a startup society, organize it into a network union, crowdfund the physical nodes of a network archipelago, and in the fullness of time, eventually negotiate for diplomatic recognition to become a true network state. We build the embryonic state as an open source project. We organize our internal economy around remote work. We cultivate in-person levels of civility, we simulate architecture in VR, and we create art and literature that reflects our values, which of course in this sort of country would be aligned. When we crowdfund territory in the real world, it's not necessarily contiguous territory, meaning it doesn't all have to be connected like a classic country. Because an underappreciated fact is that the internet allows us to network enclaves. Put another way, a network archipelago need not acquire all its territory in one place at one time. It can connect 1,000 apartments, 100 houses, and a dozen cul-de-sacs in different cities into a new kind of fractal polity with its capital in the cloud. Community members migrate between these enclaves and crowdfund territory nearby, with every individual dwelling and group house presenting an independent opportunity for expansion. And with 1,000 such enclaves rather than the 4 directions to expand, north, east, south, and west, there are more like 4,000. And if you haven't seen our other recent video about Balaji and his recent prediction that Bitcoin is going to get to $1 million in the next 90 days and that hyperinflation is going to take place and that this new country is being started right now, I'll link it up in the description below. And if you want even more, you want to be on the forefront of this digital revolution, I'd highly recommend joining our Patreon, where we empower you with software, cheat sheets, and Web3 opportunities. We're going to be monitoring and participating in this revolution ourselves, so if you want to stay in the know without having to spend hundreds of hours researching this for yourself, click the link below and separate yourself from the mainstream so you can take advantage of all the incredible opportunities that are out there for us.